All hail the silent shouter. All hail the wailer in the dark. All hail the unheard howler. We are the echo that precedes death. Hi, everyone. My name is Bridget, and I am the creator of Echoes in the Mist, a story guide for Regency Cthulhu, which is currently on sale. You can pick up a copy at Drive-Thru RPG on the Miskatonic Repository, which is Chaosium's community content program for all amazing things Call of Cthulhu, including Regency Cthulhu. So, I wanted to stop by and drop off a quick video for you guys so we could kind of talk about Echoes in the Mist and kind of unpack and decide and discuss what a story guide is. Because if you see story guide and you're like, I don't know what a story guide is, it's because I made it up. I really did. I made it up on the spot. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is my new inspiration. And then I didn't explain it to people. So I was like, yo, this would be a good time to do a video. Discuss what a story guide is, why I chose to do one, why I decided to try one out, and then also I was like, well, hey, while I'm here, I might as well show them Echoes in the Mist so they can get an idea of what they can see and they can get a front look on what it is. So if you watch this video through in its entirety, you are going to see the entire book for Echoes in the Mist. All right, guys, with that, let's hop in. All right, so Echoes in the Mist. This is a story guide for Regency Cthulhu. So this is Call of Cthulhu, placed in the Regency era with Andrew Peregrine and Lynn Hardy that did that book. So you have the reoccurring quote, the all hail the silent shouter, all heard the unheard howler, all hail the wailer in the dark. We are the echoes that precede death. This is a chant. This is a worship. This is a praise. This is a reoccurring set of lines that your investigators undoubtedly are going to be forced to say multiple times during the course of this story, of this investigation, of this mystery. And I will say this much. If you can get them to all say it at the same time, it gets really, really creepy and really fun fast. All right, so let's hop in. Echoes in the Mist. What is Echoes in the Mist? It is a story guide written for Call of Cthulhu, Regency Cthulhu. So what is a story guide? It is a new concept that I'm literally sending in a trial with this very publication. So before I start reading more off of a text that you guys can already read, let me explain to you why I decided to publish a story guide versus just a campaign. Bridget, me, does not enjoy reading playable content to then turn around as a keeper and run. It's just not something that I enjoy doing. I know it sounds weird because I write it and I do a lot of playable content, but Bridget doesn't enjoy reading it. I don't enjoy reading 30, 50, 100 pages once and then going like, okay, that's a story, and then going back and rereading again and parsing out pieces that I like or things that I'm uncomfortable with or things that I think I can do better, or trying to isolate skills or circle things and say, oh, I got to make sure they go to that room and I got to make sure that they pull open the drawer and they see the thing and oh, did they miss that skill check, and oh, but what if my investigators aren't motivated? Bridget just doesn't enjoy engaging with content that way. That's just not what I enjoy. And I don't like running content that's presented that way either. I write for it all day long, but I don't enjoy running it. It is what it is. I am who I am. I enjoy what I enjoy. If you see me running games at conventions or online and they're published contents, typically if it's Call of Cthulhu, it's either a book of tables where I can just look at the table and go like, yep, or it's a pamphlet adventure. So like two examples, Fabio Silva has a handful of pamphlet adventures on the Miskatonic Repository. They're 4 pages long, and by 4 pages long, I mean they're 2 pages long, front and back. They go, hey, here's your plot. Here's your climax. Here's your potential conclusion. Here's 3 or 4 PCs. Here's a couple NPC inspirations. These are some things you could expect. Have a great day. That is Bridget's happy place, because Bridget enjoys running games that are high improv. That's just what Bridget enjoys. So give me enough to whet my appetite, give me enough to be inspired, and I'll take it the rest of the way. I don't want to go to page 13 to see what's going on and read the text of what the PC said. And I don't, that's just not me. So I wrote a campaign with that ideal in mind. What type of content would I, as a high improv, high story immersion, high collaborative role-playing, storytelling person enjoy? And that's how I came up with the story guide. So now to read from the text that you can read yourself. This story places certain demands on the keeper to include historical research, investigator creation, and an activation of substantial improvisational skills. While the story is linear, It's one big open sandbox. Your investigators can go anywhere they want. They can do anything they want because the plot is going to finish one way or the other, whether they like it or not. This is one of those games where I really leaned into the ideal of Lovecraftian hopeless horror. There's an entity that is in play that doesn't care about you. There's nothing you can do to disrupt it. There's no ritual that you can cast. There's no magic item that you can find. This event is happening. You know that it's happening after you do some research. So really, if you see the end line in sight, what do you do from here to there? That's the type of story that I want to tell with Echo in the Mist. So the story provides a plot, introduction, climax, conclusion, some suggested scenes, a bunch of NPCs, a massive NPC directory, and various encounter and inspiration tables. So if you are looking for full rule support, you're not going to get that. You are not going to open up Echoes of the Mist and go, okay, we are in the dining hall of the Baron so-and-so and the curtains are... No. You're not going to get any of that. I don't think there's a single application of a mechanic other than a couple sand losses in there. So at no point are you going to see like, hey, you need to make a hard spot hidden check or you need to do a regular listen check. No. That is all on the keeper to improvise. I am providing inspiration and some directionality. Outside of that, the rest falls on the keeper. So runtime is based on your keeper preference. We anticipate anywhere between 4 to 8 sessions. When I ran it on the Old Ways podcast, I think we did 6, but I really wanted like 8. It was a great story. If you guys get an opportunity, definitely go check that out. It was easily one of my top 3 role-playing experiences as a GM ever. Table slapped. It was heartbreaking. I remember crying pretty significantly on the recording of the final episode, and I mean pretty significantly. I mean, significantly to the point that we asked the production lead over there, Mike Diamond, was like, can we do like a gag reel or something just to kind of recover from that? Because it was pretty heartbreaking. It was brilliant. So definitely check that out on the Old Ways podcast. I have the author's note here. The one thing I'm going to flag here, I flat out put it in writing. Because this is a Call of Cthulhu game, I felt obligated to include a mythos entity because most players would expect it. I really didn't want to. I did. I gave it up for you guys. But I really didn't want to. The story goes just fine without a mythos entity in place. But you have options. Once you pick this up, once you decide to run it from your table, it's you and your table story, no longer mine. We have a shout out to the Old Ways podcast. And then we have the overview. What's going on in the story? Well, Echoes in the Mist begins spring of 1816. Atmospheric disturbances caused by the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora caused a global catastrophe known as the Year Without Summer. And it was tragic. Hundreds and thousands of people died. That's where we place this story. In that type of environment. Where people were dying by the thousands. Where people were starving. But etiquette procedures were still rolling out from court saying you had to dress in this certain color or your stockings had to be this length or you had to call people by this type of designation or the gentry. I mean, wow. The whole situation. So this is where the story comes in. And guys, real joke. That's your whole campaign, technically. You can read this page, and then the rest of it is like, yeah. But literally, that's the whole game right there. Bam. So we jump down to diving into a little bit more historical FYI of what happened regionally and geographically when the volcano erupted. And then we hop into darkness. So I'm going to pause here and just give you guys a little bit of background on this one. So during the Year Without Summer, a handful of, I think it was titled gentry, all gathered together in the rains, and it's like, we're going to hang out at this mansion, and we're going to ignore all the dying people, and we're going to host a writing competition over the summer. And they did. And these 3 creators came up with Shelley's Frankenstein rolled out, Lord Byron did the Darkness poem, and then the early Dracula book, the vampire book, came out. All 3 of those gems came through during this time, during the Year Without Summer, off of a writing competition, because these rich people hung out in somebody's living room and it's like, we don't have anything to do. Let's see who can scare each other more. That's where we got those classic titles from. Darkness, written by Lord Byron, is a brilliant poem. It's where Lord Byron is talking about a year without summer. And honey, it is a whole vibe. It is a whole mood. And what I did with my players is I gave them sections. And at the beginning of each game, they had to read parts of this poem aloud. You want a tone setter for your game if you're running Echoes in the Mist? Go ahead and have your players read aloud someone who was living during a year without no summer and their impressions of it. It'll get you there, boo-boo. It'll get you all the way there. So, investigator creation inspiration. Yo, I didn't provide you investigators that were embedded or intimately tied into the scenario. I didn't, or the campaign or the story guide. I didn't. Now, there are 12 investigators included in the game. These were all donated from other Miskatonic repository supplements that are already published, and then the 3 characters that you hear when I did the actual play of Echoes in the Mist. But outside of that, you're creating your own investigators. Motivation, desire, and wants, what drives your characters, is a massive, massive part of this story, especially because as you do encounter the mythos entity, it plays on your traumas, your fears, your wants, and your desires. Excuse me. So it's very important that you front load that information and embed it into your investigators. And that's what I have here. So you got a 1d8 table where you can get inspired for some reason or another with your investigator. So we're here. I wrote a 6. A 6 is you've always been a cunning businessman and you're on track to become a wealthy merchant. You've secured several deals here in India. Now you must secure corresponding ties in Dorset. You may never be recognized as gentry, but you're already richer than most of them. That's your motivation. You're moving from, because the story takes you from India, you travel across the seas for 6 months, and then you land in Dorset, England. So possible motivations, you rock out from there. Character creation backgrounds. This is a D6 table. I'll just roll again. I got a 6 again. You are a twin. However, your sibling died, and it should have been you. It wasn't your fault, or maybe it was. Your family claims that they have forgiven you, but you can tell in their eyes that they still blame you for their death. Bam. And there's 6 of those. Or you can come up with something more inspired than I do, because most players always will. We've got some fun things to look at as far as occupations that I pulled from Regency Cthulhu. I'm just going to roll some random ones here. I rolled a 15. I rolled a 5. I rolled a D20 onto the floor like all gamers do. And it landed on a 12. 5 is a doctor. 15 is a rich heiress. A 12 is a naval captain. So you got some occupational support there. And these are supported well in the Regency Cthulhu book. Skills. I did take some time to go over some of the cool skills that are in Regency Cthulhu. Astronomy is delicious. You should have a good time with that one. Drive carriage. Yes, boo, you need it. Etiquette. Listen, you can not choose it if you want to. You're going to have a real colorful role-playing experience. I can promise you that much. Language, Hindi. This came into play a lot with my run of Echoes in the Mist, because we had an Indian character who was traveling from India to Dorset, England for the Spring Coming Out Ball. So, of course, she spoke Hindi. But there was one other player that did because he was a traveling salesman. So it was really cool watching them going back and forth speaking Hindi when no one else around them could understand it. But once this character arrived in the Dorset, they're at a ball. There's a lot of activity. Things are moving very fast. She gets separated from the group and from the supervision. And a young white woman walks up to her and immediately starts speaking in like native tongue, first language Hindi, which you're just like, oh, this little white girl is a spy that is in Dorset, that is feeding information back and forth. And then the character starts going through the investigator, like, am I being spied upon? What information is being, sent back to my father? What does this woman know? What does she want? So lots of fun things that you can do with English or with language. You've got mesmerism. If you haven't had a chance to read that in the Regency Cthulhu book, just go have a good time. And then you have reassure, which I really like reassure. That's a fun skill. At sea, because again, the game takes you from India to Dorset, England. So we go to introduction, journey to Dorset, introducing the investigators. I provided a cool symphony overture, which is one of our training programs with 4 fun ways to introduce your PCs, which is really fun. And then also we just have what you can expect at sea. So there's a D table, or there's a D6 here with possible interactions. I wrote a 4. There are malicious and toxic whispers circulating around the crew. The crew is becoming anxious, paranoid, and perhaps even superstitious. They're beginning to blame someone on board for their poor fortune, perhaps an investigator. A mutiny may be quickly inbound. All right, keepers, have a good time. That's what you're working with right now. That's what the players rolled. That's what you rolled. And now you have to work with that. I don't have any scene support for that. I don't have any skills. I don't have any NPCs. That is all for the keeper to kind of improvise, come up with, and dive into. If you are looking to have a good time at sea, go pick up In Strange Seas horror in the Royal Navy for Regency Cthulhu. Evan Perlman put his foot, both feet, and an elbow, and a couple fingers into the research on actually what life was at sea during Regency Cthulhu. If you're looking for to take this scenario or this story guide and then do 2-3 sessions of just weird shit happening at sea, you can do that, and then you immediately pick up the story guide again and have a good time. So I go through some of the NPCs. You got Jacoby Morse, which is a freed slave, escaped slave. You can check that out. He does have full stat support. Not all NPCs do. You have John Fisher, the ship's steward. You've got some cool art with him. I love the blue bleed and splash. And then you've got, full stats and stuff for him. And then you have Pool, because that's the harbor that they're going to. And you have the arrival at Pool Harbor, which is on fire. Nope. It's actually not on fire. It was on fire. Half of Pool Harbor has been washed into the sea. Your investigators have been at sea in the rain with gray skies, no sun, all of these horrible things, an atmospheric anomaly that they're experiencing. They finally get to their destination, their home, and it's been destroyed. Are their loved ones still alive? Are they dead? There are bodies floating by in the water. Pool Harbor is falling. And that's because people were starving. And they started riots, and their mantra was blood or bread. And there wasn't any more bread, so things went to blood. Everything I just told you is absolutely true, except for the Pool Harbor didn't actually fall. I put a historical note on there for people who are going to be mad about it. Pool Harbor never fell. The blood and bread and the riots were true, but Pool Harbor never fell. But welcome to Call of Cthulhu. So we've got a cool map of Pool Harbor. We have an alternate course. You can't dock in Pool Harbor. Your PC or your NPC, your investigator or your non-player character isn't comfortable docking in Coral or in Pool Harbor. Cool. I gave you a Sandy Beach Pirate Cove that you can alternate to. They meet my first or my second favorite NPC, one of the two, in the game, which is Annie. She's an Anglo-Calabrian woman and a free slave who's like a pirate, but a smuggler and an all-around smartass, and she's a really good time. I'm a big fan with her. She has full stat support. What happens if you land at Coral Cove? I give you some history of Pool, the town of Pool. There's a Molly house in Pool that becomes very important in the event that your characters decide to investigate things that happen later in the scenario. So there's a Molly house hidden beneath the coffee shop. And then that's Pool Harbor. That's Coral Cove. The investigators at this point are now in England. But none of their loved ones are, because they've all been evacuated. They've all been evacuated to the town of Millpuddle. So now it's, hey, we need to travel to Millpuddle to see if they're alive, to see if they're okay. So we have the travel to Millpuddle section where I go through actually John Casey wrote this section where he goes through some of the environmental challenges, things they can expect, the mood, the vibe. And I'm just going to roll a D6 here. And the D6 here is a... Y'all gonna have to judge me. I gotta put my glasses on for this one. And the crazy thing is, because I'm in Streamlabs, I can't zoom this in anymore or to zoom the screen. So a roving priest and a small flock of flagellants walk in the countryside proclaiming the end of the world. Their message is a grim one, and who knows how they will react to anything other than polite indifference. No stat support. Just figure it out, keepers, and make it hurt. So they get to Millpuddle, and the village of Millpuddle has some cool things on it. It has a public house. It has a Debrett College, which has a brothel underneath it. Enjoy. There's a church. There's this awesome map that was created by the Matt Ryan. You see it? I need to put a "the" right there. I'm going to redo this whole PDF, just put "the" right there so Matt Ryan knows it was the Matt Ryan that made this post, or this map. And then we have the arrival of the Blue Comet, which is pretty much the core of the story. This is where things completely go to hell for the investigators. They have arrived at Millpuddle, and a Blue Comet passes overhead, and it completely wrecks their sanities, their lives, and puts them on a ticking time clock that leads them either to death or complete insanity. And either way, once they hit 0 hit points or 0 sanity, they vanish. They are unwritten from reality, and they go someplace else. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. There's no fancy ritual. There's no sacrifice. There's no prayer. No, they've been marked. It's an hourglass from here out. And that's where the storytelling gets really cool. So we have some of the horrors that they experience when the comet passes overhead. It ties directly into their backstories and into their traumas, into their wants, and it gets to be a very deeply intimate and personal horror experience for the investigators. That comet, after it passes overhead, because it's a troll and an antagonist, leaves something called the blue mist. That I'll let y'all read it, but it's antagonistic and it's good times. And then it's what happens next. Well, everything falls into a mill puddle freeform. What does happen next when you know that you're going to die in a year? What do? What decisions do you make? Do you believe it? Do you deny it? Do you try to find a way to circumvent it? Do you find a way to stop it? Do you lean in? Do you beat it to the chase? What do? I want to tell you some of the decisions that some of the characters made in Echoes in the Mist, the actual play that I ran on the Old Ways podcast. But I won't take that experience from you. I will say just read the content warnings on that last episode before you listen to it, because I cried a lot and it was beautiful. So, prior and future arrivals of the comet. This is kind of like that section of the story guide or a campaign. You're just like, well, what happens if you want to roll time 50 years forward and people are investigating what happened 50 years prior? Well, there you go. Have a good time. It's right there. And then we jump into NPCs. And guys, we've got Annie with her full stat support. We've got, full families like the Bartlebys. We've got, the Bland family, Emma Bland. You're going to love to hate her. Christabella Broad. This is a character that I really love that doesn't have stat support. So let's talk about her. She's a dashing figure that's difficult to ignore. Porcelain skin, dazzling bright green eyes, thick brown hair. She's an expert swordswoman. She was fortunate enough to find a tailor that actually outfitted her with several appropriate dresses with built-in sheaths and padded armor. And her hook is she is a great character to have moving around the outskirts or the periphery of the story. She's latched onto one of the investigators to take revenge for some offense that they may or may not even know about. She's likely to challenge them into a duel. Because what are you doing in Regency Cthulhu if you don't have a duel? And then also, do you deny a duel with a woman if you're a male? What are the legal ramifications of that? Is she a really good fighter? I didn't provide any stats. That's on the GM to do. Keepers jump in and have a good day. But it's really cool to have one of these type of NPCs just on the periphery of the story stalking one of your investigators. Maybe they have to investigate what crime they committed, or maybe someone needs to talk to her. They talk to her what are you upset about? Where are we right now in life and time? I don't provide any of that scene work for you guys. But if you gave me this NPC, I could write a whole game just about her. That's the type of storytelling that I enjoy doing, and that's the type of content that I enjoy engaging with. You have Aaron, the Troll Burham. This is one creepy, uncomfortable character, guys. Enjoy him. You got Isaac Chambers, who actually survived the mist. Survive is kind of a generous word. I'll let you guys read that too. And then so Harvey Davidson I think is my favorite. It might be Andy. No, it's Harvey. It depends on how I feel right now. This is a gay black man that is a tailor, who is highly in demand. Everyone wants his wares and fashions, to the point that they ignore some historical aspects. Like at this point in time, sodomy was illegal and punishable by death. So this is a flamboyantly black gay man. Hey, yes, there were black people in Regency Cthulhu that couldn't be outward about his gayness. However, he was so talented, or he is so talented as a tailor, that people are very quickly to be like, yeah, things we don't talk about. Can I get a suit or not? That's juicy, guys. That's fun to run with. One of my favorite NPCs in the game. Does he have stats? He sure doesn't. Story guy. Keeper can run with what they want to. So, y'all already know I included a dog. That's a whole situation. So yeah, you've got your NPCs that you rock with through here. And then after you get through your NPCs, and we get the full page handouts that you can hand out to your players. And then you have pre-generated investigators. And again, they're not embedded or tied into the story. These are just included in the module, and they're all donated except for 3 that were in my game of it, that were all donated from other Miskatonic repository scenarios. So they all look different. Some have pictures, some don't have pictures. Some have full stats all the way through. Some of them do not, because different creators produce and supply their investigator sheets differently. And that's where we are. They were donated sheets, and I love them for actually caring enough to donate to this content. You got my acknowledgments. You have stuff about Symphony Entertainment. You've got me. You got my dogs, because of course you're getting my dogs. Are you kidding me? They're amazing. And then you have other scenarios that I've published, more playable content, more actual plays, credits, and bam. That's the story, guys. That's the whole story. You could read all of that content without reading like the NPC sheets and that in 30 minutes and have months worth of content in the pipeline ready to go. So thank you guys so much for joining me for the Echoes in the Mist, a story guide. I hope you guys enjoyed that and you got some inspiration and some good ideas. At this point, you have seen the entirety of the book. So if you supported it and you liked it, well, let me start that one over. If you support it, I just threw another dice to the floor. Y'all, let me tell you. If y'all ever wondered if I was an actual gamer, I am, because I've thrown dice to the floor twice in this one recording. If you have supported my content, that means you have supported me. Thank you. I genuinely appreciate it. If you like this content, please, please, please leave a rating, leave a review. I'd really appreciate it. But just know, this content ain't going to be for everyone, guys. It's really not. I wrote this for people who like to run games and engage with content the way I enjoy it. You're not me. If you want certain things from your content, this one might not provide it for you. If you do want certain things from your content, this might be perfect. So, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Mwah! You guys have a wonderful day.